Let's be real, the secret to increasing employee efficiency isn't some magical productivity hack or trying to squeeze more hours out of your team. As much as I would like to tell you that there's a quick fix, and trust me, I really would, that's just not the reality. The reality is, to boost your employee efficiency this year, you need some core fundamentals in place that most business owners I speak to simply don't have. So in this video, I'm going to take you through the 3 simple yet powerful strategies that will transform your team's efficiency. And these are backed by real results in real businesses that we've worked with over the last year. Strategy number 1, create a single source of truth. Here's actually what most businesses get wrong. They have knowledge scattered everywhere. Slack messages, Google Docs, someone's personal notes, or worse, stuck in the founder's head. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in reality. Your team uses 5 different tools to store their information. A policy in SharePoint, an expense procedure on Ben's desktop, and the client onboarding process perhaps in Trello or Jira. Management spend weeks of time giving new hires access to the different files and the information they need, who ultimately never really know where to find things, so everybody just asks the same repetitive questions. And at the end of the day, you end up with 3 versions of each document, because if someone can't find those social media guidelines, they'll just write another set, meaning that each version is slightly different and not up to date at all. And after all of that chaos, the critical knowledge just simply walks out of the door when somebody leaves. If that sounds familiar, I'm pleased to tell you, you're not alone. We've recently worked with thousands of businesses in this situation. One springs to mind was a legal practice that was hemorrhaging 20 hours a week, having team members searching for different information or asking these repetitive questions. But after implementing Waybook as their centralized knowledge system, they reduced those questions to management by 80%. They had their new hire training time drop from 4 weeks to 1 week, and they also realized that team members could find answers in seconds, not hours. The one thing that I'm most excited about with this is after implementing this strategy, the owners of the business legitimately enjoyed their roles much more. So here is exactly how to implement this. Firstly, audit your existing knowledge. List your current document sources, note the frequently asked questions from your team, and ultimately you want to try and identify these knowledge gaps by department. Once we've collected all of this, we can start to map out which processes, which procedures, or pieces of information actually need documenting, what lives in heads or doesn't live in a centralized form. Now we know what's needed, we basically have a complete plan for the playbook for the business, as well as a rough percentage of what already exists and where that lives. Now, secondly, we can choose what central hub we need to store this. The critical thing here is you should try and pick one place that everything can be together, and it really needs to be centralized and searchable. I'd recommend you making sure that it integrates with your existing tools and has all of the necessary features that you need for what you're trying to achieve. And then the third step is prioritize your documentation. Start with what you believe are the most critical procedures and information to centralize. Now, the way you can identify this is ask the question, what is the most important for your team to be successful? Now, if you were to document the top 20% of the procedures, you'll often get 80% of the results. Then you can spend time creating a great version of each document. What does a good policy, a procedure, or perhaps an SOP look like? And turn that into a template for future documentation. Now, remember to include lots of visual aids. So this might be screenshots, videos, diagrams, anything that's more than just that dreaded wall of text. So documenting everything you need in one place, the policies, procedures, SOPs, and best practices, you basically have everything that your team need to know in order to operate efficiently. And there you have it. You've solved for the first strategy of getting more efficiency out of your team. And if these 3 steps feel a little bit too long for you, then just simply check out Waybook. With Waybook, you can just throw all of your existing knowledge in and let Waybook's AI organize, write, and share your business playbook with your team. It also has all of the bells and whistles that you need for a best-in-class knowledge management solution. And now it's time for strategy number 2. This is standardizing your processes. The biggest efficiency killer that we see is inconsistent processes. Essentially, when every team member does things on their own way. Something slightly different done by Jill, something different done by Ben, and what you end up getting is inconsistent results. You get bad quality issues and tons of time wasting just reinventing the wheel. Ultimately, your employees will end up feeling really frustrated, so will your clients, which means that your business isn't fulfilling its potential. A large logistics company using Waybook was really struggling with this same problem. They had different team members across multiple locations that all had different ways of handling their inventory management, their ordering process, and even down to how they manage their staff rotas. So after they documented and standardized all of their processes, they saw some incredible results. Their warehouse throughput actually increased by 20%. They reduced their shipping errors by 75%, and they even saw their sick leave reduced by 20%. This works for both larger companies with heavy operations as well as smaller businesses with much lighter workflows. So here's your standardization playbook for executing on strategy number 2. Firstly, we must do our process mapping. We ultimately want to identify where your core business processes are. What are the daily or the weekly activities that happen in order for your business to just continue operating? Once we've identified these core areas, we can now actually map out these current workflows step by step, identifying the core elements, the decision points, and the handover periods between different teams. In this process, we can start to note the variation between the team members, the locations, or any changes that happen in specific situations. Here we can start to really identify the bottlenecks in our processes and the inefficiencies that we can just simply remove. So now we're at the second step, we can focus on that process optimization. We can already objectively see the processes, and the first thing to do is just strip it back. Remove any unnecessary steps, remove the things that have just started to exist. We can automate repetitive tasks where possible, and also we can then start to look at building in these quality checks and creating clear decision trees, essentially centralizing the information needed for people to make highly effective, repetitive decisions. Thirdly, we want to document and train our team. Linking this up with the first strategy that we covered, we want to write those clear SOPs or standard operating procedures, essentially including common troubleshooting guides or creating our process checklists. Where possible, we can even include recorded video walkthroughs or screenshots of how to do the work. And finally, implementation. We then want to roll out these processes in phases, introducing new processes to team members on a regular cadence. Finally, we want to make sure that we set clear expectations on what the intention is of these improvements, and make sure that we both measure and monitor those changes, adjusting them as needed and celebrating the improvements with the team. The key here is setting clear expectations and also making sure that our team are happy with the process of standardizing our workflows. The third and final strategy for improving our employee efficiency is creating asynchronous learning. Here's the game changer that most businesses miss. Your team needs to be able to learn and access information on their own terms. Far too often, teams are held back because they don't have all of the information they need in order to do their best work. And I hate to say it, but this one is likely on you. The game here is to stop being the bottleneck. And if your team has to wait for you or another manager to either answer a question or provide training, then you're the one that's killing efficiency. At Waybook, we recently helped a tech company with 120 employees implement an asynchronous training system, which basically meant that their management team was saving over 25 hours a week. Their new higher productivity increased by 40%, and the most amazing thing was that overall employee satisfaction jumped by 65%. So here are the 3 steps for you to build an asynchronous learning system. Number 1 is to create a learning framework. Here you want to break down your main roles into the required skills needed for their responsibility. For each of these responsibilities and skills, think about what is the core knowledge and information that they need in order to excel. Then you can start to create a learning pathway or a direction through that content for each of those roles, essentially running through the fundamental information, the knowledge and the skills that they need for their role. Then you can start to complete your learning framework by setting out your clear milestones and expectations of what's required of your team during their training. Secondly, now we've created that framework, you can start to actually build out your training library. Here we can record the video tutorials for common tasks, we can create interactive guides, and also build self-assessment tools. Include real-world examples and case studies. Remember that people learn in different ways, so it's often better to show things rather than explaining them, but you do need a mix of text, of video, of images having that combination of things really is essential. And the third step here is to centralize your knowledge. Host your training and pathways in a tool like Waybook, where you can easily set up your progress tracking, your testing, and your metrics. This ensures that your training is asynchronous for the business to be efficient, but actually has those feedback loops to ensure that you and your team can continue to optimize and improve the knowledge. Finally, don't forget to reward self-directed learning. Providing someone with access to everything they need is actually highly empowering. But remember, human nature always enjoys some positive reinforcement as progress is made. As a few quick pro tips, remember to make it mobile friendly, keep the content bite-sized, and use multiple formats, as well as including practical exercises. So these are your 3 simple strategies with their steps on how to increase your employee efficiency. Remember to create a single source of truth, standardize your processes, and enable asynchronous learning. If you take any one of these strategies and implement its steps, then I guarantee you'll see improvements within your team's efficiency within the first 30 days. Thanks so much for watching. I hope your mind is fueled with some strategies and steps to take. And by the way, if you're interested in implementing those steps in your business and want help to create your business playbook, click the link in the description below to learn more about how Waybook can help you get your business running like a well-oiled machine. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to put a like on this video and subscribe to check out other videos for more business optimization tips. And until next time, I hope you enjoy some smooth scaling.